Welcome to Table Talk, Talks, Togetherness, and Transparency. Today, we're excited to have three of our teachers with us today. These teachers have been identified as high flyers in our system. They have worked extremely hard to accommodate the varying needs of our students during this pandemic. And today, we just want to highlight some of the great work that they're doing and want to thank you for just giving of your time this afternoon. We know that you've had classes today, and for you to take time just to have this conversation, we just want to say thank you. We have Ms. Shakeya McClintock from Palmetto Middle School, Meg Henry from Creek Bridge STEM Academy, Erica Williams from Marion High School. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. So for Table Talk, this is more so a very informal discussion and just wanting to hear from some of our teachers. As many of our stakeholders are aware, we've done a lot virtually this year due to the pandemic. And so I want you all to just share some of your experiences and how have things worked. So first, let's start with a bright spot. Can you each tell us something positive that has happened within the last, at this point, 12 weeks of school? And so we'll start with Mrs. McClintock. And please chime in, Ms. Henry and Ms. Williams, whenever you feel the need.
Something positive that my class on a daily basis, I start with an SEL check-in, social emotional learning. And I may show an inspirational video, or it may be, just a simple question on how you're doing today. How was your weekend? Or it may be, I may say, put in the chat box and show me an emoji on how you're feeling today. I may everybody's on, in a good mood before we begin our lesson. So that's positive how I start my mornings and afternoons out during my class time.
Good. Now, Ms. Williams or Ms. Henry, do you start each day too, or have it as a segment of your day as well?
I do. It almost sounds like she's mimicking my class in the beginning, because we usually start with an emoji and they put how they're feeling. And the first day, I guess they thought it felt a little weird because a teacher would tell them to use an emoji, but after they did it the first time, they enjoyed it. So now they look forward to doing that emoji, and it's a great way to get started.
Good.
I do the same thing as well with my first class, doing an SEL lesson. And then after each class after that, I always have like a chat box topic for them to respond in the chat box, something just fun to get to know them and for them to get to know me too, because it's a challenge virtually to do that. So doing those little topics in the chat box has really allowed me to reach the students and get to know them on a personal level, even though we're not face to face.
Thank you all for sharing. As we all know that many of our students, they benefit best by being in brick and mortar. We know that. I cannot take that away. But under the circumstances of having to go virtual, what are some of those things that you have done as teachers to make sure that we keep the integrity of our academic program? So what are some of those little things that you may do within your classroom just to make sure? I've done many walkthroughs, and I see the read alouds, I see the text on the screen, I see all sorts of activities. So what are some things that you're doing in your classrooms to make sure that academics remains at a high level of integrity?
Well, when in my classroom, I try to use our breakout room sessions or our groups. So I try to include students also with helping each other. I would like for everybody to still to feel safe in this platform, just as they would in class. So one way that works in my room is I do use the group area a lot.
Okay, good. Awesome. And the students do very well with that.
They have.
Collaboration, good, good.
And in the science class, it's a little different, being that, it's not hands-on, and being that it's virtual, it's really not much we can do. So I use Gizmos. Gizmos is a platform that uses online simulations, and it demonstrates everything that, whatever we're going on that particular day, it demonstrates to the student on how, if we were in the classroom, how would we do that with hands-on activities. And I also use, quizzes, Kahoots. They enjoy Kahoot because they're so competitive, and I we enjoy it, just, I try to make them feel as if they were in the classroom, and, to make like Ms. Williams stated, and also to make them feel that they're safe. And we try to incorporate the same things that we're doing in the classroom virtually.
Awesome. Ms. Henry.
Yes, in our class, we actually had a conversation with Ms. Wilbanks the other day about notebook checks and kind of doing a virtual notebook check too with the kids with their cameras to make sure that they're writing down everything that they're supposed to be writing down in their notebook. And also utilizing those online platforms. Like, I know we have a deficiency in math facts, so kind of trying to research and determine and find a math resource that I can use and keep track of their data and how well they're progressing. And I am happy to say that they are progressing. So that's also kind of trying to utilize things like that.
Awesome. Well, just Mrs. Henry kind of led into the next question. Resources, because we know that we do have our regular textbooks, we have our regular basals, and I do know that those things are supplemental. But now you've had to really utilize more online resources. Are they hard to find? Have you been able to find material that is aligning with the standards, aligning with your pacing guides? So how is that? Or is, I feel like many companies have adapted. And there are more resources every day, but from the teacher perspective, talk to me about those online resources. And you've mentioned some already.
Yes, and also it's perfect that Pearson Realize is a company that, the district purchased with the textbooks for the science department. They have Pearson Realize interactive notebooks, and everything in the textbook, the students, you set up a classroom and the students are able to get all of those resources there virtually daily. And, it's a different assignments they can do, online videos, and maybe questions to follow. So, that's a great resource that I use for science.
Great. Awesome.
And a resource that I found that is also good with coding, there's a lot of resources out there, but Khan Academy, to supplement the code.org that we're using, Khan Academy is one that's also been very useful. So with the coding class, we've been able to find a lot of resources to help guide the students.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Ms. Henry?
Yes. Sometimes you gotta be careful not to overwhelm them with all the resources. I noticed that especially with the elementary students, and like Ms. Williams mentioned, Khan Academy, that has been a lifesaver for me with math, and it helps kind of guide where the kids need to go, as well as using like Edge Elastic to find test items and to create a test and use that as well. So my kids have really enjoyed it, but like I said, just kind of being careful not to overload them with so many.
Absolutely. Well, what advice would you give to parents? Parents play a major role. They always have, but especially now when we have students that are home and they're helping to facilitate that learning. What advice would you give to parents? And that advice could be from something that you've encountered or just thought you have that they can a way they can better support their students while they are home. So what type of advice would you give to parents in assisting those virtual learners?
Well, from a high school standpoint, if I can give some advice to parents, I would encourage them, because now they're getting to the age and to the level where they are about to be in the real world. So I would encourage them to encourage their students to continue to try to take the initiative to do a lot of the things on their own and allow them to explore. They're going to make some mistakes, but allow them to explore. And when I say explore, when it's time to turn in assignments or when it's time to download assignments or different things, I would encourage the parents not to overstep the student and allow the student to make the mistake so that then we can help them, which will later help them in life that, oh, now I understand what this is asking me to do because I had to do that in my class.
Absolutely. That's a great point.
I agree, Ms. Williams, that accountability is key. Hold all students accountable, and also communication. If the parents, if you don't understand anything, please communicate. Reach out to the teachers for any type of questions that you may have. Just, communication and accountability is key with this virtual platform.
And I piggyback on both of those, and on an elementary side, checking to make sure that the assignments have been done, not doing them for them, but just making sure, hey, you've got this to do on team, just go on and check and make sure that they have done the assignments or been to the class for that day. Just making sure that those things have been completed so that they're successful.
Okay. Now you mentioned Teams, and I know that we've always been a Microsoft district, but there were several modules in Microsoft Office 365 that we were not using. And when the pandemic came, it forced us to start using some of those resources that we had available, which is a good thing. How has Teams been in terms of be honest, because I'll be honest, that came up in my parent advisory. That came up in our parent advisory 2 weeks ago. And one thing that I shared with our parents that I will look to see if Microsoft themselves offer a parent session on how to maneuver, because that was one of the things that parents stated, that sometimes them being able to locate where things are. And so has that been your experience as well with Teams and the learning curve? Has it gotten better?
Well, for us, it has gotten better. Microsoft is a good platform. It is a good platform. I think for many of our parents and students, sometimes they just find it a little difficult because there's many ways to access a platform. So sometimes that is what gets a little confusing, but Microsoft is really a good platform because there are, just as you stated, several apps out there that's included with it that's useful in many ways in classes.
Absolutely. Okay. Anyone else?
It's definitely been a learning curve. I came from Google Classroom, and kind of the analogy I give is that Google Classroom was made for education. Microsoft Teams was not. It's made for the business world, and we're adapting it to education. So we have to adapt to it as well. My husband's in engineering, and he used it before I did. So he knows a little bit more about it. But it's a learning curve for all of us, and but they are getting a lot better. And I've been really impressed with the younger kids being able to navigate this thing. It's very impressive to watch. So it has been a learning curve, but it has gotten better.
Well, good.
Yes,
I agree. I was more of a Google person too. And so even in my role, it was a learning curve for me. But I play with it a lot because I was ending up in the wrong place in the beginning, wrong places. But the more you use it, then the more you start having a better understanding on how to navigate. And so thank you for those comments. Ms. McClintock, were you going to say something else?
Yes, ma'am. And like I was stating, I agree with Ms. Henry and Ms. Williams. It is a learning curve, but I think that here at Palmetto, what we're doing as an 8th grade team, we're trying to be consistent across the board, allowing students to, we work with them daily, and, assignments are located here. So, we walk them through it, and sometimes we take over their screen to show them and help them to maneuver through the platform to make sure that they're doing everything correctly. But I'm starting to actually love Microsoft Teams because, it's a lot of new things that they're incorporating now.
Absolutely. Well, ladies, again, I just want to thank you just for sharing with us. If there's anything else that I didn't ask that you wish to share, please do so now. But if not, just keep doing the great job that you're doing. And I ask that you continue to just be flexible and accommodate as we continue to shift into a new norm, and every day is another new norm. And so things are just constantly evolving with the pandemic and this virus. But I just thank you for your positive attitudes and for the way that you're supporting your students as well as your families. So keep up the good job. We appreciate you. In case I don't physically see you all before the end of next week, I do wish each of you happy holidays, get some much needed rest. And again, thank you for doing just a tremendous job.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.